Okay. I just realized I have muted. Apologies for that, guys. So let me go over all of that again. Once again, welcome to tonight's session, tonight's Get Into Tech session. If this is your first time joining us, this is the Get Into Tech initiative, an initiative designed and created to provide you the needed knowledge, clarity, and roadmap that will help you break into 12 select career paths in tech. This is the 12th session, meaning that we have gone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up until the 10th, the 11th, and now the 12th. Yesterday we had the 11th session, which was on, which basically was a session, around graphic design, right? We've had sessions on software development, project management, product management, web development or web design, blockchain technology, digital marketing, video editing, and on and on. And tonight's session is going to be entirely focused on machine learning and artificial intelligence. And just like every other session we've had, we have someone amazing who's online with us tonight, our expert for tonight, and he's going to be doing justice to this. Like I said before, though I was muted then, I'd like to know where you are joining us from, right? Lagos, Nigeria, Abuja, London, Canada, wherever. Just drop in the comments. I like to know where you are joining us from. Or you can just drop a hi. Like I said, today we have an awesome person, Samuel, in our midst. Basically, we're going to be adding him up now to bring him on stage. Okay, so right now we have an awesome person in our midst, Samuel Theophilus. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah. So Samuel basically is an ML, is a machine learning engineer, and he's also a machine learning tutor. Meaning that basically he's trained other persons out there, on how they can get started, across machine learning and artificial intelligence. And tonight he's going to be doing justice to that. If this is your first time hearing about machine learning or artificial intelligence, no worries, just sit back and relax. A whole lot of clarity, a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of insight is going to be coming to you and from my experts. And by the end of tonight's session, like I said, even if you knew nothing about any of these parts, you'd have the exact blueprints that will take you from being a newbie to starting out to building a career in this part. So without talking more than this, I'll just give the floor to Samuel. Please, feel free to share your story, your journey, and what it's been like in machine learning, AI field. How can a newbie, who's just who's interested in starting out, how can they basically start out? You have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, Bill. So hi, just like I was introduced, I'm Samuel Theophilus. So let me just give you a little bit more about myself. So my background, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I finished from Bingham University, and currently I'm also studying. I'm running my MSc in ABU's area, that's computer science as well. So for my working experience, I have experience as a web developer. I've worked as a web developer. I have also had experience over 4 years experience working as a data scientist and machine learning engineer. So currently, I am a data engineering tutor and machine learning engineer at I'm a machine learning engineer at Omdena, and then data engineering TA at Correlation One. So basically, what that things I like doing. I also write technical articles. So I write articles in machine learning, tech space. So machine learning, programming. I write technical articles on Medium, and then also I have contributed to a few open source projects. I love music and movies. So that's just to introduce myself. And then so my journey basically. How did I get into machine learning? How did I come into artificial intelligence? So uh, let me just share a bit about my programming journey to start with. So I joined, I started my undergraduate degree, that's in computer science, with at Bingham University in 2013. And prior to my program, I had no idea what programming was. Like I was zero, so I didn't know. But at that point I thought Java was just like a game engine, so I was very bad. Basically, just to summarize, let me not just go too much into that. But I was very blank on what to do. But the course through the course through course curriculum, I covered, was introduced to C++ as a computer scientist. I learned C sharp, a bit of C sharp on my own, and then I got introduced to Java too. So personally, so along the way, I've worked with with PHP, JavaScript, learned what with HTML, though HTML is not considered a programming language for some reason. So CSS and SQL, and currently I work actively with Python. So uh, now for I'll get to this, but I know it might put some of you off, feeling that you have no programming experience, you're not a computer scientist. How can you dive into machine learning? It not having those experiences. It's not. It doesn't mean it's impossible for you to dive in. In fact, as a matter of fact, there are strengths. When moving into machine learning and data science, basically, there are three components you need. You need domain knowledge. You need knowledge of maths, and then you need the programming knowledge. So uh, for computer scientists, they might have some advantage, but as an expert coming from a different field, whether it's geology or it's economics or it's agriculture, health sector, you have the domain knowledge that gives you an advantage over, let's say, a data scientist that comes from a machine learning field. Each of them are equally important. So I will just want to let you hang on and not get discouraged, even if you don't have computer science background. So my journey to machine learning. So I worked as I developed a number of apps with PHP and Java and but even you know that if you have tried going on the journey to machine learning, you know that having software development experience is just a step. You still need there's a lot of theoretical knowledge and concepts you need to have to be able to dive into machine learning. So machine learning, during my IT experience, my internship, I my supervisor, my then undergraduate supervisor, just shared some materials with me to just read into machine learning and just see it. And then I got interest in the field, started reading a lot of theoretical concepts, blogs, articles, and trying out things. So, and with the knowledge I gathered, I was able to build an automated cataract detection software, web-based system for my final year project, and that was how I got into machine learning. That was the beginning of my dive into machine learning. So after doing that, I saw that although I was able to build a system that worked, and because the system actually took image data and then processed them to classify them as either cataract cells or not. So, but after that, I discovered I still had some limitations. Like I wanted to get to the point where, given any project, given any kind of data, any project, any domain, I would be able to process the problem statement or the objectives, and then look at the business problems basically, and then just come up with a solution, a machine learning solution for any kind of problem. So that took me to go deeper into courses, a lot of self-learning, taking courses, and here I am. So I'm going to be sharing details in that. So that's a summary of my journey and how I got into machine learning space. So basically, I didn't study machine learning as I didn't study a degree in machine learning or data science. Basically, it was a lot of a journey through self learning and basically, so journey through self learning. Yes, so that's actually what has helped me achieve experience or gain experience in this field. So basically, so for those who are new to machine learning, you must have been hearing about ML, machine learning, data science, and so a lot of times it gets very confusing because even in machine learning, even in the machine learning field, you get to hear job roles like machine learning engineer, you hear data analyst, you hear data engineer, you hear data architect, and data science engineer. So it gets confusing. Like, what do these fields mean? Not to bore you with too much details, but let's begin. So, what's machine learning basically? So machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is broad. In artificial intelligence, you have even though they so at some points they find them interrelated or inter communicating with each other. But you have robotics. So robotics is a part of artificial intelligence. You have expert systems, and the list goes on and on. So machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, which has had a lot of success and has made a lot of buzz in recent times. So so basically, machine learning is a concept that allows developers or machine learning engineers or data scientists basically to be able to program to make the computer or make the machine to be able to learn or mimic human behavior. So you have a child, so the way a child learns learns from mistakes, learn from observations by coaching or mentoring. So a machine learning model in the past it was not possible. Before machine learning, it was not possible to be able to do that. Most artificial intelligence techniques or algorithms just mimicked, just kind of created like a hoax, or like just trying to mimic. So you have expert systems that just a bunch of logic statements or rules that just try to mimic uh, intelligence, human intelligence. But machine learning was one of the success. It's a field or technique that has brought success and a lot of advancement into artificial intelligence, such that machines have the ability to learn, just like humans have. So and you have if you dive into the machine learning, you get into concepts like deep learning and stuff. So uh, what's different between really machine learning or what similarities we have with machine learning and data science? Data science also intersects with machine learning. However, a data scientist uh, solves business problems, and sometimes he might sometimes a data scientist gets to use machine learning. Sometimes they might use other statistical techniques which are not necessarily machine learning techniques. So machine learning is actually a powerful tool in the hands of a data scientist, but it's not the same. So it's intersect a data scientist needs solid knowledge of machine learning and uses them, but it's not limited to just using machine learning. There are tools that you there are problems you can just solve with statistical with other statistical methods. So having done that, the difference between I had a diagram, but I can't share that on my screen now. So, but the difference is there's the in traditional programming you have traditional programming, you have the data and you have the code, the instructions. So you have the algorithm, you have the data, and you try to get the result. So for instance, if you are trying to write a program that calculates the area of a circle, you will have the data, which would be like a value such as the radius, and then you have that's numeric value, and then you have the algorithm, which is going to be the formula for calculating the area of a circle, and then you put down, you write this program together, put this program together, and then have a solution so that such that the final product is able to calculate the area of the circle given the radius and the formula, right? That's traditional programming. In machine learning, however, it's kind of inverted. So you have the data and you have the output, and you are meant to to figure out the algorithm, or I won't really call it algorithm, but you are meant to figure the pattern. So in that case, using this concept, this particular this area of the circle concept, in machine learning, the problem will be such that you have the radius, which is the data, you have the output, which will be the area of the circle, but you don't know how to get into the formula is unknown. So you are now going to use machine learning to be able to find the pattern. So to link the radius and the area such that the machine is able to detect the appropriate formula that it will use to be able to predict to make predictions in future. So I'm just trying to keep it simple. So, but this is how machine learning works, and that's why even as a software developer, you need to go you need to still do further learning to be able to dive into machine learning. So having said this, so now how do you learn? How do you learn? Because it's even it's easy. It's very machine learning is a field that it can be very tricky. It's very easy to get lost because there are a lot of tools. There are a lot of tools and alternative tools just to work with. There are a lot of algorithms. There are a lot of concepts. Basically, it's just hanging. So if you have tried diving into this field, it's easy to get lost. It's easy to be very motivated and locked and stuck. A lot of people get into the field and get stuck. So they and this and for me, I also at some point got stuck because you see that if for even when I as an undergraduate or when during my final year project, I was able to build a software such as the automated cataract detection, which was actually published on IEEE. But even after publishing that, I still saw that there was a wide gap that needed to be covered. So it's very easy, even after executing, to still feel it's a field that requires consistent learning. Even you're just in the loop, in the learning loop. So, it's something without good guidance, you will actually be shooting your leg, shot yourself in the foot on this journey. So, how do you learn basically? So, I suggest you begin with, especially for talking to uh, uh, parts of attendees who don't have machine learning or computer science background. So begin with the basics, right? So this is a marathon. So don't rush. I'm sure you'll find a lot of tutorials, and you might be tempted to just try implementing and have cool applications. You'll be able to build. If you follow a tutorial, if you rush to build, to just implement what you have on tutorials just to show people, you will have success, but you will end up getting stuck because a lot of times people get stuck with machine learning. Unfortunately, they don't get stuck early. They get stuck when they are like almost halfway in, and they now discover that there are a lot of concepts that they don't know. So it's like trying to solve a simultaneous equation problem without having good understanding of algebra. You see, if you don't understand the basics of algebra, or you can't solve simultaneous equation, or you can't solve calculus, no matter what resources you lay your hands on, you will not just get the concept because you need to just start from the very, very basics. So start from the basics. Try to get. I suggest one of the methods I suggest for non non technical, that's non computer literate or computer science individuals, is to try with maybe web development. You mustn't go into web development, but it's an advantage when you understand the basics of programming. Just learn a language like maybe picking Python. Just like I said, there are a lot of tools. You have Python, you have R, you have a lot of these other tools. You can use Java for machine learning. So, but I personally recommend Python. R is great for as a statistical programming language. However, if you want to go into concepts like deep learning, if you want to go and you want to build fully deployable solutions, it's very difficult to escape Python. Let me put it that way. So learn the basics of Python program. Python is easy to start, although it can get very complex, but it's easy to start. So you can learn the basics of programming, the loops, and then also begin to read theoretical concepts about machine learning. And when you want to understand the concept of software development, what it takes to, you mustn't necessarily build a complete solution, but you need to understand the basics of software development to be able to go far. Sometimes people try to start. I've seen cases where people try to start with ready-made tools, that just drag and drop, and that's great. It will do the work if you're if you work as a data scientist and you don't have intentions to build solutions, then that's great. You can just use tools like Rapid Miner or IBM's SPSS, which you just just need to understand machine learning concepts and then use drag and drops to do that. However, if you are trying to go into deep software production or product development, I would advise you need to understand software development concept, basic concepts, and what it takes to build basic software or website. At least, even if you don't go through the process, just know having basic understanding of this and programming web machine learning. So now, what tools do you use? I already started talking about them. So you can learn with R. R is great for statistics. Like statisticians use R a lot, and it's as machine learning. As a data scientist, machine learning engineer, and data analyst, you'll see job applications that require knowledge of R and SQL. So R, SQL, Python. Personally, I would suggest to start with Python, SQL. But if you have statistics background and you're comfortable with R, then you can use R and then dive into SQL. Know the basics of this languages. Just understand them because when you start, I see a common mistake a lot of students or fellows make is that they just dive into Python for machine learning. So they start with tools like NumPy and Pandas immediately and just and miss a lot of the basics of machine learning of Python. And so when you go that way, you might get results because you have a lot of tools and resources to be able to. You have Stack Overflow and a lot of tools that you use, but eventually you are not planning. You are not preparing yourself for a market for a job setting because you will get stuck when you get faced with real world problems. So it's very important to understand the basics. Know why. For me personally, this is what works for me. I tried my best to try and understand why a tool is relevant before I get into using that tool. So, for instance, if I'm trying to learn the Python library, the NumPy library in Python, I should have an idea. Okay, why was there a need to use NumPy? Why do we have NumPy arrays and not the traditional Python arrays? Uh, so basically understanding the basics helps you know, okay, this is the limitation with this tool, and this is why I need this tool. When you do that, it's easy to to build because there's a wide gap between learning the theories of machine learning and working in a real world with real world problems or getting problems. And that's why even after completing a lot of courses, there's still a very wide gap. Like completing courses is just one of the steps. When you complete courses on Coursera, on DataCamp, that's just one of the steps. There's still a wide gap you need to fill, which will be difficult to fill if you did not understand the foundation. So if you don't understand the basics, so it's very important to understand the foundation. Even if you move slow, it's best to understand the foundations and grow in that fashion. So as I've mentioned, learn Python, learn the tools, Python, SQL, and working with that. So when as you begin to learn Python, then you can begin to enter the mathematical concepts or like the techniques behind it. So statistical analysis, the maths. You have to. If you are trying to go into concepts like deep learning, you might need things like you might need concepts like calculus. You might need to have some form, not form, some form that not immediately, but as you go, you will need to go deeper into calculus and other concepts like that. But if you are just going to stick with machine learning and you're not going to go into deep learning, you're not going to go into deep product development, then you can look at statistical analysis. So, and you start statistical concepts, descriptive analysis. You have inferential statistics. You have just like that correlation, starting from the basics like correlation, causal inference, just basic, just statistical concepts, and going because even as when you move, you find yourself, you might find yourself applying more of those statistical concepts than even machine learning algorithms like decision tree linear regression, uh, 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 SVM and algorithms like that. So you might not really go into just so just have an understanding of statistics and not just learning this. I strongly advise as you learn these tools, try to understand. It's easy. It's good to understand why you need them. Yes, at some point you might not get everything, but it's good to understand why you need these tools, why you need statistics, why you need or at least use cases. For a start, use cases. Why are some applications? What scenarios would I need to apply this technique? It kind of, for me personally, gives me a deeper understanding to new concepts. So when you see samples of how that technique, how that algorithm, how that concept was used in solving a problem, it gives you better idea to or how to just it helps you understand the concept better, basically. So on learning statistics uh, and then domain knowledge. So just like I was saying earlier, domain knowledge is very important. It's equally important because for instance, let me go back to the project I worked on. I want to give you very basic since the audience is will consist of many people who have not really been exposed to machine learning before. So my final year project, the project was, as I said, cataract detection. For those who don't know what cataract is an eye disease. So now to be able to implement cataract, even with knowledge of machine learning, to be able to implement that solution, I had to consult a doctor who had knowledge, who was an ophthalmologist basically. My dad was an ophthalmologist, and I consulted him to understand the medical, like the procedures for for diagnosing cataract, and that was what gave me insights to see, okay, how would we be able to now use artificial intelligence to be able to solve this problem. So now, why am I bringing this up? Because when you consider different fields, so when you're trying to apply machine learning to finance, to sports, to weather forecast, to whatever field, to customer, to e-commerce, to whatever field, farming, you need the domain knowledge, and that's very crucial because without the domain knowledge, even with the complexity of algorithms you need, you will build a very sophisticated, useless solution. Basically, you won't get this, you won't get the problem, so you won't get solve the problem because. So it's very important to have domain knowledge. So sometimes, a lot of times, those with background in computer science and other tech fields, one of the things they have to cross or face is mastering the domain knowledge. So giving any new project, having to take a lot of time to understand everything about the domain knowledge because you can't solve a problem you don't understand, right? And so for those coming from other fields, you're coming from chemistry, from physics, you're coming from other fields, you have solid. So as an accountant, let's say if we're trying to build a solution for finance, let's say, so someone with domain knowledge in finance has more advantage to build a solution that solves that problem if they are able to learn machine learning because they understand the concept, financial concepts, which will be difficult for a computer scientist to grasp because that's new to them. So for success, you need solid understanding of the domain. So when you begin to learn, you start considering, okay, what areas do I want to focus or apply my machine learning techniques on? Because the field is actually broad. You have computer vision, you have natural language processing, you have financial data, time series, and you can go broad. You can go into robotics. You can go. So there are a lot of area fields you can apply this skill. So you begin to look at, try to pick, okay, where do I see myself? What industry do I see myself going into? And then with that knowledge, you begin to you narrow down and try to understand, get domain knowledge, and then begin to apply some of the statistical knowledge you have acquired, some of the skills you have acquired, and then try to begin to build solutions there. So the next thing, how can you learn? The best way to learn after you have gotten the basics for software development, for machine learning, for most likely any other field is to start to implement, practice, makes improvements basically. So as you improve, take a project and build. So when you build a project, even after learning concepts, because especially for those of you who have tried learning programming before, I'm sure if I ask you some questions or if I present a problem to some of you, you will be lost. So the key to learning and understanding is trying to apply that to projects. So and that's what has helped me personally in computer science, in the computer science field as an undergraduate, and even diving into machine learning. So build projects as you not, and it's very important not to carry too big, very large projects that are out of scope. Try to build. You need to take projects small, just small, and gradually make your solution complex. So, for instance, I started. I think one of my software projects, my very early software project was to build a calculator. So I built the calculator with command in the command line interface, and then after that, then I now try to say, okay, how can I get a GUI, and then so start small. The point is start small and start getting start start working on projects. That's the best way to get to understand what you do, what you are learning, and apply them into to practice and see if you actually understand what you are doing. So, and when you have projects actually kind of build your portfolio because you need a strong portfolio to be able to land a job in machine learning, data science, or any of these fields. So, and working on projects is one of the ways to show. So, beyond just taking courses, right? Beyond just taking courses are important, but you need to build portfolios because without portfolios, just having there are a lot of courses out there, and having courses is not just very special anymore. Maybe it was some years back, but it's no longer very special. So you need to build portfolio, and building portfolio. One way to start building your portfolio is to start working on projects and build and have that in your portfolio basically. So the next is when you have portfolios, you look for internships, right? Look for internships. Find now when you have solid understanding of theoretical concepts, you understand of taking courses, you have you understand machine learning concepts, you know how to code, you know how to implement some of these basic concepts, and have notebooks. You are able to just you understand basically what it takes to build a basic machine learning project. Now begin to look for boot camps, internships, communities, have practical experience. Just dive in, and because this field is it's very demanding. I will tell you that because if you try just searching on LinkedIn or Indeed or just try going online, you'll see PhD students. You see companies that look for machine learning engineers, PhD students as interns. You see, so if PhD students are taken as interns, you know that it's actually a very complex field, and it's not impossible, but it's demanding. So you need to learn and build your portfolio. So if you are trying to dive into that field, you're going to be in the learning loop forever. So trying to build it, trying to build yourself. So internships and not necessarily paid internships because you most likely might not get paid internships. Try finding internships that stretch and develop your skill, build your portfolio, and just give you insights to solve. And I would advise that internships should come at the latter part of your learning experience after you have actually covered. Because if you take any of these steps in a wrong fashion, you will get stuck. Like you get stuck. It's almost definite because I've had come across students who tried just jumping into internship offers after finishing courses, and they don't really understand some of the concepts. So when you get into internship programs, you will most likely not be tutored like a course. You are expected to apply some of the knowledge you already have. And if you don't do that, you might end up finishing the internship, but you really have not really there's a gap. So at each stage of your learning process, there's a gap or there's a need. And internship feels or meets a different kind of need. So you need to know the basics, understand programming, know how to use the tools, get comprehensive courses before beginning to even and try a lot of some projects before you even begin to consider some internship opportunities, right? So having said that, so now what are tips to learn faster? I want to emphasize that it's it's very important not to think of this as a marathon, right? Those, or sorry, think of this as a sprint. If you run into it, you most likely run out of it. It's something you have to build consistently, and having a roadmap helps you learn one thing at a time. And you will get, when you begin to learn, you discover that every day there are tools. Like there's a lot to learn, which can be overwhelming, right? Because if you start trying to learn, when you, long after you have understood the basic concepts, you see that there are a lot of tools. When you come to cloud services, you have a lot of tools. You hear tools like working with big data tools like Hadoop, uh, Kubernetes. Like I don't want to just bore you with too much information, but there are a lot of tools, and that can be overwhelming. But the secret is just going one step at a time. It's a marathon, and in due time you will have the knowledge you need. So so how do you do this? So for me personally, how I started, what works for me is I would strongly advise you try to check YouTube. So uh, personally, even with software development, these are my study. These are the components. These are the key components I use for studying. First, I use YouTube for for a brief introduction. So maybe just to see how what I have maybe a 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes 1 hour video on what a concept is, just understanding. Once you have that basic understanding, the next is to then you can maybe read articles, blogs, and then have um, and maybe take courses that give you in-depth understanding. Then you need a textbook that will give you a very comprehensive insight into that field. But textbooks are boring, so not everyone can start from textbooks or go deep. So I encourage you. So if you are new to machine learning and you don't really know what it is, the first thing, just try going to YouTube, just search for videos. I recommend these channels, Eureka, Simply Learn, and there are a lot of them out there actually. So if you check, I'm sure the YouTube algorithm will do a lot of good for you. You get concepts and you can watch. They are free videos. You can watch them and then till you understand the concept. Once you understand the basic concepts of these courses, it helps you anytime you're trying to explore new concepts. You can just use YouTube and then just get a tutor or a channel that explains these concepts better for you. Then you can consider. So once you have these concepts, you can go further into blogs. You can look into blogs and Medium. I have a profile on Medium, so I actually write technical articles, like I said. So Medium is actually a great platform to get short, uh, uh, topic specific uh, articles on various concepts. So you can check that, and with a search you will see a lot of Medium materials. And sometimes you have like I think machine learning blog mastery. There are a lot of other platforms there. Article you have analytics video. You have a lot of them that actually give you insights into machine learning and other concepts. So you can check articles just to read to get a more comprehensive idea on the concepts. When you understand, just trying to understand the theoretical concepts, then you can begin to take for and this is the hack. I know that paying for courses could can be it's not easy, but as a matter of fact, if you really want to make progress and you're not willing to invest in yourself, I don't think you are ready to do that. So you should be willing to invest in yourself. So and this is the hack to be able to pay. So I know for platforms like Coursera that have value in their certificates. If you need certificates, uh, it's you are charged. You pay per I think on a monthly subscription. So that might not be very cost effective for someone who doesn't really have the necessary resources. So I'll suggest you can start with YouTube. There are a lot of resources on YouTube. They might be random and scattered, but it's you can have understand some rough understanding on YouTube, and then when you pay for courses like on Coursera, on Udacity, on Data Camp, and all these other platforms, you will now get a comprehensive tool that will take you from a comprehensive, a structured course that takes you from the very basic to the end. But at this time, you are not completely blank, so it will connect the dots for you, and you'll be able to do that. So, and personally for me, that actually helped me. So, a course that actually helped me is a course on Coursera. IBM is a program on Coursera called the Data Science IBM course. That's actually, I think, it was designed to span for 9 months. So it's 10. It's a program that has 10 courses. It's a career change. It's a career professional program. So it has uh, introduction to machine learning. It has introduction to methodology, machine learning methodology, Python programming, SQL, data visualization, data analysis, going to deep machine learning, and then we end up working on a project, on a capstone project. So a course like that would help you. It's not going to be, it might not be cost effective, but it's worth it. Like it's really worth it. You can be disciplined to go through courses like that, depending on the field you want to go to, data engineering, data science, or what field you want to go to. You get courses with that structure, and then you will be able to navigate yourself. You'll be able to navigate with ease. So, and then the next is textbooks. So I actually also suggest textbooks, and there's no order to which resource you would begin to consume. It's totally based on what your preference is. So for textbooks, I actually also use textbooks because textbooks might seem boring, but they give you a very detailed information, introduction into the field, and very comprehensive. So, like for instance, like I said when I got into computer science, I didn't know what programming was. Like as a matter of fact, when I hear concepts, terms like drivers, like I thought driver was like a cab driver, like basically. So I didn't know a lot. I didn't know how to format the system. I didn't know basically anything about computer science. So one of the first things I tried doing was to locate the school library and then get an introduction, a textbook introduction to computer science. And with that, I was able to now reading through from the very first page, going through it, I gained insight after going through a lot of chapters. I got very good insight that helped me have a strong foundation. Now it's so textbooks are very cannot be emphasized, no matter how boring you think they might be. If you want to really go deep, you need to have solid grasp. You need textbooks too. So and then communities, so communities like Git, communities, you need communities that actually will build you, because one of the things communities help is gives you exposure to people who have more experience in the field. That's one. And then also it gives you access to opportunities too. So if you're looking for internships, you're looking for job opportunities, courses, access to courses, all these communities help you with this. And most importantly, beyond just the opportunities, the mentorship, the fact that you have people you can talk to when you have problems, because problems will come, and that's for sure. So having that is very important. So the mentorship, yes. So mentorship is actually very key. Without a mentor, uh, even with the right resources, like let's start from software development. Even for software development, even while learning, without a mentor, without someone to just guide you, just not necessarily tutor you, give you a comprehensive tutorial through a material, but someone who can guide you based on the experience they have had. Even when you have access to the courses, even when you have access to these textbooks, to these resources, there's a high chance that you can get stuck. You can still get stuck. So there are very basic questions that a mentor will give answers to that give you clarity. That's so that's just so mentorship. So you need someone, just locate someone who has a lot of experience that you can work with, and then so that being said, so mentorship, and then so yeah, so like I said, internship opportunities. So you have competition. One way to test yourself is to stretch yourself to the limit. So after your practice project and you can now execute projects, the next is to try internship competitions. And I advise that you try competitions at the latter part of your learning process, because this is what I would suggest, that because you need to actually understand categories to be able to know what concepts or what tools or what techniques you need best to apply. And platforms for such competitions where you can access learning of religious competitions. You have Zendi, which is an African platform. You have Kaggle. So Kaggle is also good. So with these platforms, you will be able to just stretch yourself and see how well they're performing, because the machine learning is a field that when you start doing solutions, right? Especially for supervised tasks and supervised tasks, it's easy to be able to evaluate the performance or the accuracy, how well your models, developed models are. With unsupervised techniques, it's a little more if feasible. So it's good to engage in competitions because you get to see how you perform on real world projects or complex projects. That's what actually impresses job employers. So you have good records with competition, performance competitions. That would be a very good plus on your CV or on your resume. So that's it. So how do you land a job? So just like I said, after going through this, it's very important to understand that even after you have gone through the courses, even after you have been able to build some solutions, there is a very wide gap between there's a wide let me just put it this way. There's a wide gap between real world applications and application of machine learning and the theoretical or the sandbox like the experiment run. So it's very important to get to get internships and try to build, because to be able to convince the recruiter or convince those uh, yes, the recruiter will often get into that. You actually know just beyond just the basics, right? You need to be able to see, and that see how you add real world projects to your portfolio. Try to work on real world projects, and that having that in your portfolio will actually help you a lot to land internships, to land jobs, and and that's where a lot of people will get stuck, because it's good when you begin to work on real world projects, you begin to see that you most likely will have little assistance on platforms like on Google Search. Basically, it will be difficult to work on when you start working on real global projects. It's difficult to find them that is exactly or almost or has like 80% that's what you're doing. You will find concepts, maybe pieces of the project. You find references to pieces or similar pieces of the parts of the puzzle. But when you begin to work with real projects, you actually need, without such understanding of machine learning or this concept, you actually be lost. And that's why you should not rush, not just jump or rush just building solutions. Because when you get to real projects, if you don't have solid foundation, so it's a marathon, not a sprint. Work with a roadmap and gradually build. So optimize your CV. Even when you have these skills, it's good to optimize your CV, just like any other job application. Optimize your CV and be able to represent the skills you have, because you can be very skilled, but the employer or the recruiter is the CV you submit. You don't represent very well, even after having these skills, you would miss opportunities. So, and then lastly, find a niche. Like find a niche, and with a niche, because just like I said, there are a lot of fields. And you could be a machine learning engineer in agri space. You could be a machine learning engineer in healthcare. You could be it's very tricky, because even when you're a machine learning engineer, you get into the domain. A lot of things look like magic at the initial stage. So it's even as an experience, you have machine engineers who have to work with machine learning engineers that have had over 20 years experience. And when we get to work on a new complex project, you see that they still need to do a lot of research to be able to navigate or work on that project. So if you are working, so you find a niche, work on that, and then just know that your journey is a journey of learning for life. Like it's a researcher by force. Let me put it that way. It's not negotiable. Like living schools, working on original stock department is no longer an option. It's not something academic. It's because you have to do it because it's necessary for the success of your job. So with this, I've come to I think I've come to the end of my.
Awesome. I'm laughing. You know why? Because this is the first time any of the persons we brought on speaks from 7 o'clock down to 7:55. So usually it's about 25, 30 minutes, like go over all of that, and then we have question and answer. But then, thank you for all you have shared very brilliantly. I actually allowed you to just go on because I figure you still had like really important things to say, and even some of the questions I had, I was going to ask you. As you went on, you actually sort of like answered them, right? And so thank you so much. It's been really, really explanatory. I like how you took your time to really break it down and give that very simple roadmap that will take you from being a newbie down to being an expert. You talked about joining communities. You talked about taking courses. You talked about starting with YouTube videos, which will give you like a general idea around concepts. And you touched like building your portfolio. I was going to ask a question on that. Because I know that having a portfolio is really crucial to getting a job in the industry. I like what you said, which is after you've taken courses and you even worked on a couple projects for your portfolio, there's still possibly a little gap between all of that and working in the real world, taking all of that to apply in the real world. And I think that's where a lot of people have issues today, and it's almost across every field. So you've taken several courses, you've gotten certifications, you have textbook knowledge about concepts. And then let's say you even go beyond that to work on a couple projects in your field and you have a portfolio. When it now comes to joining a startup or joining a full-fledged company and working with real users, real use cases, it always feels like a really, really big hurdle to prove to the companies that you're actually capable of handling the tasks that will be brought before you. So I like how you talked about that as well. So guys, now is the time to drop your questions. We're actually almost beyond time, but if you have questions, just drop them. I have one or two quick questions I'm going to ask you, and the first is, I've met a lot of people who have issues with coding. Right now, something about coding. I code, right? I'm a software developer and all that. And so something little about coding is there are persons that don't just have that coding thing in them. They don't have the code thing in them, right? So anything that involves writing code and doing that, they run from it. Now, for such kind of persons, are there other career paths still in machine learning? The broad spectrum of machine learning, AI. Are there other career paths that they can pursue that will not involve them writing some Python or some SQL?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there are a lot of tools that can help. So for instance, coding SQL is actually also coding. So, but let me start with SQL. So for those who are not really going to who don't want to go into product development, like diving into the depths of software development, mobile app development, right? So if you want to just let's say you're building business dashboards, you could use cloud. Let me use cloud platforms like the like let me use GCP, so Google Cloud Platform, right, or AWS. So there are services such as BigQuery ML and Redshift ML, right, which allows you to be able to build machine learning models with just SQL. So that's at that level. Now that might not be as what I say as it not require you to go deep into coding and a lot of messing with a lot of code like code when you are trying to do Python. So, but it's because a lot this solution, this SQL tools handle a lot of the cleaning and the data transformation behind the scenes. So that helps. So if you still are not someone, if you're not someone who wants to go into the mess of SQL, then there are tools like Rapid Miner. You have SPSS model. I think IBM's SPSS. There are tools. There are software tools that allow you to just use drag and drop. So you need to have machine learning knowledge, you need to have statistical knowledge, and then you use them to use these tools to build solutions. Yes, you have limitations, but there are a lot of companies that don't require you to have knowledge or use Python for your data science or your machine learning applications. So you can use that to apply, and you find that a lot when you work with companies that use financial data. My little experience, so you find a lot of you might because the importance is not one thing I always say is it's because in my during my undergraduate we had you have a lot of cases where scientists are arguing which language is the best, which language is best, but which language is better than which. What I've come to realize over time is that it doesn't really matter. It's more about what you can do with the tool than the tool itself. So if the company you're working for, if everything they need can be handled with a front end application like maybe Power BI uh, sorry, what's the name? Rapid Miner and tools like that, then it's fine. Rapid Miner allows you to just connect to drag and drop with concepts, having concepts of what a machine learning pipeline, data pipeline is. Then you use drag and drop. It's like an Excel interface. You have to build models with that too. That might have its limits, but it will solve a lot of business problems depending on the company you are in. So yes, it's possible to still go into data science and still go into machine learning without having to code. Although you might get to submit. So it's important to know, okay, what is your end goal? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see you going? And then that will help you decide, okay, if you should focus on programming or you can actually just go into uh, focus on just learning one of these very sophisticated tools to build your solution. I don't know if that answers the
Okay.
question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. It does fully, 100%. Thank you. And so I have another question, and that is, there's a whole lot of talk about machine learning, AI basically being like the future. And all of this kind of talk emphasizes on the fact that there's a lot of things, possibilities that machine learning and AI will unlock, for the future of man, right? I mean, in the days to come, the years to come, basically. Can you talk about that in a minute? What are the really amazing possibilities that AI machine learning is opening up, to us that we have never perhaps seen or experienced before? Just in 1 minute.
Okay, so let me just start by saying a lot of for a start, a lot of the movies, the film tricks, film tricks you have seen in movies are now very possible thanks to machine learning. Right?
Oh wow,
So,
okay.
now jokes apart. So now machine learning is very powerful, right? So, but I always like to stress that it's not a magic wand. So a lot of times, because of the power and the success stories with machine learning, you get a lot of cases where you have clients just thinking machine learning will just solve, it's
Everything.
just something to wave on their business and to get solution. Machine learning is very powerful because it has been able to uncover patterns and insights and build solutions that were not possible years before, and even outperform humans in certain tasks, right? So it's like you hear cases of games like a machine learning, an AI rather beating a human at a chess game
Yeah.
at various games. So it's very powerful. And when you look at let me give an instance like facial recognition 10 years ago, about 10, 15 years ago, is different from facial recognition now. So that if you had to recognize my face, if you used to look at softwares before, if I put on a glass, it's or I use a slightly different light, it will be very difficult for the system to be able to detect my face. But now, even if I have accident or something, like the model has been able to really learn, like not just simulate. So there's a lot of powerful tools, advancements in Google. When you see the success story in Netflix, in Amazon, in Google, you see them traced to machine learning. A lot of business. This is not just theoretical concepts. These are practical concepts that actually shown results And the basic fact that we have to use that we have self-driving cars now is thanks to machine learning, right? When you look at a lot of automations, it's thanks to machine learning. Machine learning is very powerful. When I don't know if you use those who have used Grammarly.
Yeah,
Let
Grammarly.
me
Yeah.
Yes, so if you look at the way Grammarly works, that's machine learning. That's
Oh,
something that was not possible. Like when you look at Google Translate, when you look at the way Google search, like when you just it's something that cannot be covered during this program. It's very amazing and it can be very nice to talk about and explore, but it has machine learning has its limits, right? It's just like I said, it's not a magic one. So it's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. It's one of the things works with data. So if you had bad data, one highlight, if you have bad data, uh, your concept, no matter how powerful the concept is, you have shabby solutions or you have weak solutions. So it's very powerful, but it's not magic. It's not magic. So it's yes. So yes, it actually has a lot of stake in the future of tech, and I don't see it leaving anytime soon. I see
yeah.
I see it expanding uh, to more domains because, as a matter of fact, if you generate data of any sort, then you can use machine learning, and that's what makes it very. That's one of the things that, so irrespective of the field, every day, every minute to generate data, whether through speech, through text, through motion, through whatever it is. And that means that machine learning can be applied to gain intelligent insight to whatever text, task or service or you are providing or what you're doing. I hope that answers
Okay.
the question.
Yeah, it does. It over answers it. Yeah, so thank you so much. It's been really, really beautiful. I'm having you share tonight, and I'm sure that those who are online right now basically have learned a whole lot. And I myself have learned quite a lot of things too, basically, which I intend to go on to check more about. So I'm going to ask you for last words, just final words, basically. I mean, 30 seconds, for anybody, basically, just encourage those who are on that journey, which to encourage those who are on that journey, basically, to who want to become, engineers in the machine learning field, and all of that. But before then, what platforms are you active on? So persons can get to follow you. Which of the platforms, basically LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, which of them, and can you also share your usernames on those platforms so the persons can get to follow you, on there?
All right. So yes. So I'm active on LinkedIn. Let me drop that in the chat. So I'm active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Active on LinkedIn. I'm active on on Instagram. So let me just drop my Instagram handle. It's
Oh, oh,
Instagram handle
okay.
at Midway, and my Twitter too is at Midway. And then
Okay.
yeah, so let me just drop my yeah. So Facebook, Instagram, link, Twitter. My handle is at Midway, and then this is
Okay.
my so, so I'm active on all these platforms. Although
Okay.
I post so I'm active on this platform. So that's where you can reach me. So
Oh, okay.
and then
Oh, okay. You're trying to say something?
no, I was trying to the encouragement, yes. So
Okay. Yes. Before you go to that, so guys, his LinkedIn link has been put in the comments. So just click it and go send him a connection request on LinkedIn, or go send him go follow him basically, or just send him a connection request. And then his handle name or username on Instagram and Twitter is, and as well as Facebook, is going to be put up now. So yeah, final words, just 30 seconds. I know you have a lot to say. I can see that, right? So just 30 seconds, basically. Just encourage those who are finding this path difficult. I've talked to a few persons basically who are finding this path difficult. There's so many things to grasp, so many things to learn to get them to that point where they're employable, right? So what words of encouragement do you have?
So the first is uh, understand, get your foundation, the fundamentals clear. Don't rush. Start get the fundamentals clear and build gradually. The second is don't get discouraged. As a matter of fact, the most important asset you have is the motivation and your determination to continue. Without that, you will make it in software development, you will make it in machine learning. So the fact that you have, because you meet errors, like you meet crazy errors that will either end the career or make you get better. So just that, I think that's the summary, that's the highlight of the advice I'll give you. Don't get discouraged because of concepts you don't know. When you hit a roadblock, find ways to understand it. Just like the explanation I gave you. If you don't understand calculus, it's because you have missed it at algebra or at earlier stages. So you take steps back and get the fundamentals clear, and you'll be able to proceed. So when you get stuck, take steps back and you'll be fine. So get a mentor, attach yourself with a mentor. You must not necessarily bug the mentors, but you can just reach out, just find someone who will be willing to just give you few tips from time to time, and that will help you because a lot of times you will get stuck because you are new to the field and you might have digested the wrong information or maybe the right information at the wrong time. Basically, so this will actually help you. Don't get discouraged. Even if you have no understanding, 6 months is enough to change your perspective in any subject. Very determined. So the determination is very key. With determination, you can learn anything. That's the summary of people.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for those words of encouragement, guys. We've come to the end of tonight's session. It's been amazing having our expert Samuel Theophilus, talk about the machine learning space. And I'm sure that you have learned a whole lot. Like I always like to say, and for every other career path we've dealt with, you have to ensure you put in the work. There is no, I mean, look at him and everything he shared. You can tell that experience has been built, knowledge has been gotten, books have been read, courses have been taken, and practical projects have been worked on. So without all of these components, coming in for you, is always going to be a struggle, right? So you have to put in the work to get to, to become an expert and proficient, in this field. So like I said before, his LinkedIn link, as well as Medium link, and then Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, handles have been put in the comments. So go basically follow him on all these platforms and connect to him on LinkedIn as well. Now, when you were wrapping up, you talked about mentorship. You've also talked about courses and getting the right kind of trainings. Basically, so I understand you have a training coming up, which would take anybody interested from newbie to expert. So can you quickly talk about that? I understand it's coming up this month. So just talk about that real quick, and then we wrap up for tonight.
Yes. So with my experience over the years, my experience coach mentoring fellows to just get into machine learning, I discovered one common problem: the fact that people miss the foundation, the fundamentals, right? And that's because a lot of times, just like I shared, a lot of times people jump into data science without having basics or basic concepts. So so I decided to just come up with after a lot of demand and request, I came up with a Python course. Now I've actually paid for courses on Coursera. I've paid for courses on Udemy. Like I've taken a lot of courses. I've actually paid for these courses. I've taken personal sessions. So I understand the gap. I understand what these courses have. They are very important and they are very relevant. I know the gap and I know what it takes to move for a self-learner to move from the knowledge of these courses into practical application. So I decided to draft a curriculum for Python programming. I will take you through the concepts you need, not just elementary, not just concepts as you have on normal courses, but going into testing, unit testing, development, handling errors, and debugging. Basically, just going through a lot of information about that. I will be taking the course will be starting in June, on 13 June, and I'm taking students. So the cost is $70 for 3 months. So you'll be going through 3 months 2 months of exposure to the programming language, and then the last month will be intensive practical projects on portfolio, that's building Python portfolio projects. The idea is to be able to give you enough foundation to dive into any field. So even if you want to go into web development with Python, if you want to consider maybe hacking, because hackers use Python, Python too. If you want to do, you want to use Python, even if you don't want to use Python for machine learning, just giving you concepts, just giving everything you need to handle that automation. You build portfolios with automation projects, with analysis projects, with web development and things like that. So the cost is $70 and it's starting in 13th June. So there's a form that you will fill if you are interested, because I actually am very particular about those who I need very motivated individuals. It's not automatic, payment is not automatic. So before you pay for the course, you actually have to indicate your interest in the form, and then you'll be filtered. An email will be sent to you if you qualify, and then you make payments for the course.
Okay, awesome. I like that. And so, guys, you heard that very clearly. This is not about money. It's not about any of that. It is about you learning basically and becoming very good in machine learning, right? And so, I mean, it's not even automatic for you to get in. You're going to be filtered to ensure that you will be committed basically to the entire process for the 3 months, right? So once again, it starts on the 13th of June. Can you drop the link in the chat again? I know you dropped it before. Just can you drop that in the chat basically, so it will be put up. It will also be put in the group basically for people to indicate interest. So guys, we've come to the end of tonight's session. It's been amazing. So much value has been shared, has been given. Thank you so much, Samuel. We, in Get to Tech, really grateful. Thank you for gracing our stage, and thank you for sharing very passionately, on machine learning and how the newbie can get started. Guys, if today's session has been anything for you, like I like to ask, for you guys to do, drop the fire emoji in the comments. I'd like to see it. Drop the fire emoji. Like I said, we've come to the end of tonight's session. This is the 12th session in the Get Into Tech program. The final session holds tomorrow, and I am going to be live. I'm going to be coming up by myself to share with you, right? So you've gone through 12 sessions over 12 weeks, over the past 3 months, across 12 career paths. You've learned a lot, gotten a lot of knowledge, a lot of clarity, a lot of insights, a lot of new things. You've learned new things, right? What do you need to do with all of this knowledge to get to the next level, right? How can you ensure you are successful, right? So what happens basically is that only, like I said on the last session yesterday, usually only about between 1% to 5% of persons basically who are exposed to these things end up taking all that's been learned into practice, and end up actually becoming something really successful out of it, right? So how can you ensure you're part of that 1% to 5%? What I think you need to do over the next couple months to, in summary, break into tech this year. I'll be sharing that and much more with you tomorrow. Same time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. That will be the 13th session in the Get Started program and the final session. Once again, thank you, Samuel, for joining us tonight. We are extremely grateful. Thank you guys for joining us as well. From 7 p.m. to now, roughly 8:20. Thank you for riding through the session, basically with me and Samuel. I'll be back tomorrow. See you same time tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.